Today, Mighty Car Mods, we're going to show you how to fix up the look of your car.
Using colour match paint in a can. Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods, and Marty, your car is looking like rubbish.
What do you mean? My car's a sleeper. It's awesome.
You cannot use the term sleeper as an excuse for a car that looks like that. There are mismatched panels, the bumpers are damaged, the whole thing looks like a massive grey turd. It's absolute rubbish. So what are we going to do to fix it?
Well, sometimes when you buy second-hand cars, you know, they might be mechanically great, they might have lots of rego, they might be well looked after, but sometimes the panels can be less than perfect.
But that doesn't have to be a deal breaker, does it? So what are we going to do, Martin? What's that process? What's the plan?
Today.
Get me excited, Martin. I'm all getting juiced up about it. Tell me, Martin.
Today we're going to give the whole car a makeover.
The whole car, Martin?
Using cans.
Using cans?
Cans.
Are we going to be using cans of donkey spunk and urine and beer like we've painted cars in the past, or are we actually going to use paint?
We're going to use colour matched paint.
Today we're working on Marty's Turbo Liberty wagon, affectionately referred to as Gramps. It's pretty ugly, of course it is, because Marty bought it, but we're hoping some love with a spray can will help. The bumper got backed into and the side panel got jiggy with a metal fence. All over, it's looking pretty sad, and it's got all the usual real-world damage a daily driven car has to deal with. We're using colour spec paint that can be matched up to the colour of your car via the paint code, which usually lives on a plate inside the engine bay. The code is then matched up and made using various bases and tinters and measured by weight. The mixture's then pressed into a can, which is mad, and this contains the propellant and thinners to make it spray evenly onto the car. When you're going to the trouble of painting your car, you want it to look mad, so we're using a proper paint system specifically designed for automotive use. You can mix up all sorts of colours. Just find out the paint code for the colour that you want and then take it in to get it matched. This means you can do interior parts, accents, or absolutely any object in any colour that you can see on a car.
So these are the tools you're going to need. You're going to need some sandpaper to help prepare the surface. Now if you've got an orbital sander, otherwise known as a whizzer, then you can save yourself some time.
Does anyone actually call them a whizzer?
I call them whizzers.
Does anyone
That's
else?
a good name because it whizzes it, man. You whiz the paint. Whiz.
Whiz the paint?
Yeah.
That's called onomatopoeia, Martin.
Whiz. Because it sounds like a whiz.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not what a whiz sounds like.
Okay, let's continue.
Now you're going to be pulling some of these panels off your car, so some basic hand tools, screwdrivers, socket sets, stuff like that. If you've got any things you've got to bog up, some putty or bog, 2-part bog is what you will need. You can also get that kind of stuff in a spray can, which is pretty handy. Once you start painting, you're going to need some masking tape to mask off stuff you do not want to paint. We've also got some Prepsol or wax and grease remover, which comes in very handy. And most importantly, you've got your safety gear. I like to use gloves because this paint doesn't come out of your hands very easily. And most importantly, a respirator, because you do not want to coat the inside of your lungs with paint.
Remember when this happened?
Now there's nothing worse than coming back to your car and finding that it's been dented.
And then this happened? And then we said this? We teach you how to paint the panel that you just bogged on. But then that happened?
Yeah, the turd's gone, dude.
What do you mean the turn's gone?
I came and got it last night.
Yeah, but where is it now?
It's been a month. Where do you think it is? It's on the front of a forklift, dude. We're about to crush it.
Well, today we're actually going to show you how to paint that panel that we never showed you. So Marty, are we about to pull your whole car apart?
That's one way of doing it. You kind of got to make the decision whether you want to pull more panels off and do less masking or do more masking and leave them on.
You can take the panels off the car and then paint them, which means you don't need to worry about masking anything. But to show you guys, we've decided to leave the panels on the car. But remember, you do run the risk of overspray, so keep that in mind. Taking off panels means zero masking, but there is more spanner spinning, so work out what is going to be best for you. If you're masking up, first run masking tape along the edges of the panel. It's a good idea to cover your wheels too, and garbage bags make this really quick and easy. We're using newspaper, but you can use plastic drop sheets, which have the added bonus of being waterproof. If your panel is brand new or has no imperfections, you won't need much preparation at all. Just clean it down well before you paint. You've got to make sure you shake up the cans really well or they won't spray evenly, so give them a good fap for at least a minute before you use them for the first time. Next up, we're going to rub back the old paint. The idea is to get rid of any obvious edges, as they will show up under the finished paint job. Next up, we're going to clean the bar with wax and grease remover, and then we could spray on the filler primer over any damage. Our guard is undamaged, so we can paint the primer straight onto the lightly scuffed panel. You can use really fine sandpaper or Scotch-Brite pads to roughen up the surface. Build up the layers of primer slowly so you don't get any runs.
It's gonna be mad, man.
Primed.
Optimus Primer. What a mad show.
Then sit around and wait for your paint to dry. Repeat this process until you've got good coverage or you've run out of paint. Once your filler primer is fully dry, you can crack out your whizzer and sand it back. You're trying to remove any edges and build the paint up to the same level as the existing stuff. Shake up your filler primer again by giving it a good fap before you spray out another coat.
So this is where we're at. This front quarter panel here now has around 4 coats of primer on it. It's looking very awesome. So next up, we're gonna rub that back and then that gets base coat on it, and then we do the clear coat. It's gonna look unreal. The front, we've got the high fill primer here, so that's filling in all the little nicks and crannies and nooks and all those other little bits and pieces. So that there we're gonna rub back, and then that gets primer on it, a number of coats rubbed back, then that gets the base coat, and then that gets the clear coat on top, and the whole thing is going to look freaking unreal.
So as always, it's best to check it with your hand to make sure that it's flat, because sometimes it might look flat, but when you feel it, you can feel a little bump. And the idea with the primer and with the filler primer is to get it as flat as possible and just sand it back. It'll take a couple of goes, but it'll be totally worth it when you've done the top coat.
We're giving the guard a light sand with 600 grit sandpaper to make sure it's smooth and ready for the base coat.
So a good tip when you're painting is you want to shake the can until you're actually getting these indentations on the bottom. I don't know if you can see them on the camera, but you can definitely feel them. And that means that everything inside that can is ready to party all over your car. Literally spray itself all over the front of your vehicle.
It's a good idea to spray a primer over the filler primer to make sure you've got good paint adhesion.
So the wind has picked up outside, so we've moved the car into the shed and we're just remasking some areas of it, because the worst thing that can happen is crap falling in your paint and ruining your mad paint job.
In fact, Martin, I think what we should do right now...
No, you shouldn't do that.
...is I think we should cut to an example of this very thing happening.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And show the people what happens when we paint cars in windy environments. So let's cut to that now, and then we'll cut back to see the shame on your face. We probably should be in a booth, and the wind has just picked up as well.
I don't know what to do.
What's all the stuff in it? Stuff in the tree and the sky and the universe.
Every little dot.
Yeah, it's like stuff from the trees, man.
So that's there forever.
Yeah, that's in the paint now.
There you are. That was pretty good, wasn't it, Martin?
It was your idea.
It was my idea. I'll take that.
So now that the primer has dried, the next thing we're going to do is rub it back with fine grade sandpaper so it's ready for its final coat. Now a lot of the time, if you're doing a whole car, you've got a lot of time up your sleeve, you can rub the whole thing back with wet sandpaper. I don't like to do that for the quicker and smaller jobs because you can get water in your paint and it completely ruins it. You can be halfway through spraying, water that you haven't cleaned off will drip in it and ruin it. So we're going to rub it back dry, we're going to clean it up with wax and grease, then we're going to do our top coat and our clear, and it's going to be mad.
Next, rub back the primer. You can whiz it out, but make sure you use a fine grade paper so you don't see scratch marks through the base coat.
Can't stress enough, everything has to be dry. If you get water in the paint, you will ruin your paint job and everyone will laugh at you. Just like if you drive an MX-5.
And have lots of hair dryers available.
This is your hairdryer. I don't need these, dude, you do.
Now, probably the most common mistake people make when they're repairing and painting panels is they try and just mask off a part of the panel. So if this part of the panel down here was fine, for example, they'll mask all of that off and then they will get their paint and they'll dust it on. And what you'll see, even with just this example, is once your paint's done and you pull this off, you will see a massive line going down here. Now you can see that already. So the way to actually fix that is either do the whole panel, which is what we're going to be doing, or if you only need to paint part of it, then just blend it in by dusting the paint. So getting lighter and lighter as you get up near the panel where there is no damage and doesn't need to be repainted. Blending is an art in itself, and there's a whole lot that can be said about that. But for us, we're just going to do the whole panel. All of the prep is done, so now we get to do our mad paint job. That is looking awesome, Marty. Already, look at that. It's a transformation of Gramps. He's dyed his hair grey again. Look at it. It's awesome.
And the trick with that is to do like your first coat kind of light and dust it on, because that helps the paint after it stick. And
It's like wrapping a part of your body in double-sided tape so that when you put more on it, it sticks to it, isn't it, Mun?
Exactly. Don't know why you'd ever do that.
You've never done that?
Why would you do that?
You never wrap stuff in gaffer tape so it doesn't... You never did that?
So something to keep in mind is when you're doing your primer is quite forgiving because if you get it wrong, you can sand it off and go again. Even the clear coat you put over the top of the lot of it is quite forgiving because you can buff it back. The one thing you can't fix is base coat. So if you get a run in your base coat, you basically have to wait for it to dry and then start all over again. Also, this is the point where you're going to notice if there's any problems with your prep work, this is where you're going to see it. So if it looks like you haven't done a proper job, you can always wait for it to dry, sand it back and go again until you get a perfect job.
Next up, you're going to apply multiple layers of base coat until you've got an even finish. You do not want runs in your base coat as it's really hard to correct, so spray it on slowly and evenly.
So the primer is on and the base coat is on, and that has been an epic afternoon's work. And now, Martin, this is the exciting bit. We can put on the clear coat, which is when the whole thing is going to bloom and look incredible.
Except we're not going to put the clear coat on.
We're not putting clear coat on?
No.
Is this some weird Mighty Mods thing?
No.
Some new trend?
No,
we don't do
no.
clear coats anymore.
No,
we like paint things with avocado and rust and urine.
If you don't do...
Why are we not putting clear coat? We've got the clear coat. We've got cans of clear coat.
If you don't...
We've already got it. I don't understand why we're not putting clear coat on. The whole idea of this job is that you do the primer, you fix the problems, you do the base coat, you colour on, and then it's meant to have clear coat. That's what looks the best.
If you don't put clear coat on, your painting will look completely crap. But the other problem, if you rush paint, I've said this again, if you rush painting, you'll ruin it. So, because we're running out of light and we're also running out of heat, we're going to wait and we're going to do the clear coat in the morning.
We're going to wait!
I know.
I wanted to finish it now so we could go cruising down Church Street.
Me too, so bad. But so many paint jobs have been ruined by doing that.
Let's just do it now.
No.
Do we really have to wait?
Yeah.
Until tomorrow morning?
It's only like 12 hours away.
Oh man, why are we doing that again?
Because if you don't, your paint will look crap.
So we want it to totally dry properly so that the clear coat best shows off what we've done so far.
Precisely.
So tomorrow morning we finish it off?
Yeah.
So I have to wait all night, but with the magic of editing, we'll cut to the next day right now.
Once the base coat has fully dried, spray on the clear coat, and the more layers of this the better. Don't be worried if the paint isn't glossy straight out of the can, as paint out of a rattle can often needs to be polished to bring out the shine. Once you've given the clear coat time to harden, rub it back using a cutting compound. An electric buffer will make this much easier, but it is possible to do it by hand too. We've gone from this to this. And that is how you touch up your mad car with rattle cans.
Painting your car with rattle cans is doing the mouth thing, but I don't care, I'm going to push through it. So it's not quite the same as gun. As you can see, it's different kind of paint, but the convenience of having that paint in a can that you can just paint any time of the day, unless it's cold, don't do that, is pretty awesome. You can tidy up things, you can fix bumpers, and it can look mad.
But to get it looking extra, extra mad, you gotta make sure you rub it until it looks glistening and wet. Like, just keep rubbing it. And it's hard sometimes, isn't it? It's a hard job to keep rubbing it, but that is where you're going to get all the joy from it, because as you can see from our before and after kind of images there, when you've rubbed it, that's when everyone's the happiest.
When you've polished it.
Yeah, but you polish it by rubbing it. You rub until it looks wet. It should look reflective when, you know, you put your hands in it and it's like gooey. Like it should
Yeah, but it's not actually gooey.
It's not actually gooey, but that's the way that it should look.
It appears gooey.
Makes me miss my MX-5 talking about gooey fingers.
Miss your MX-5?
Yeah.
Don't you have a Honda?
No, but kinda, but sort of. Did I just say
Your
MX-5?
Honda's
Did
like...
I just call my Honda an MX-5?
I think you might have.
Really?
Did you
That's
mean
a
to do that?
disgrace. I'm going
Did you mean that?
I'm going to reset my brain. I miss my Honda, Martin. I miss my Honda gooey
I
fingers.
don't miss your Honda.
Really?
No.
What are we doing next, Martin? Because everyone wants to know, including me.
We're doing our 11-second Gramps build.
Is that the next video that's going to be out?
That is the next video that's going to be out.
Sorry, tell me again. What are we doing, Martin?
We're going to do
No.
the build of...
Sorry, tell me again.
We're going to do the Gramps build. 11 seconds in my old
No.
silver
No. We're not doing that.
What do you mean no?
We're not doing that, Martin. Can you hear the internet crying?
We said in the update we're going to do the...
We're not
with the
touching
turbo-
Gramps. Gramps shouldn't be fiddled with. Gramps is perfect as it is. It's like Gramps, you don't tickle people's balls without permission when they're elderly, do you?
Yeah,
that sends you to jail. Gramps is already fine as it is. We got a new plan. We're still doing the 11 seconds.
We've
We're
got
still,
a new plan.
We meaning
Sounds like
me and Mechanical Stig, I mean. You know, not you.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of, you're the Subaru guy. No, we've got a new plan, which you're part of still. Go and see Mechanical Stig. Go and see him. And next video, we'll show you what's happening. We're not touching Gramps though. Gramps is Gramps is fine as it is. Come outside, Martin. Let me show you Gramps. Gramps is fine as it is. You don't have to touch him. Look at him. He's there. He's all happy. He doesn't want to be touched. Go and have a look, Martin. He's happy as he is. See? He doesn't want you to touch him. I had an idea, Martin.
Which is?
I reckon if we kind of use Spanky to elongate the front of Gramps a bit, we could almost get this looking like a Honda.
It's practical, turbocharged, 4-wheel drive.
Honda has none of those things.
No.
Which is why Hondas are fun.
No, wait, it does have
You've
the
just
lag.
basically described all the boring things about a car. It's
Yeah,
like
this
turbo,
car...
which is cheating, all-wheel drive so it doesn't go sideways. Practical. Who wants practicality, man? Like, seriously. Don't you just want to get in your car and know it's not practical? Don't you want to get in it and know that you're having an experience? Some symbiotic relationship with the road because you've got your mad naturally aspirated engine, it's back here, you've got that perfect weighting, the perfect balance. Like, that's what driving is, and that's what a Honda does. This car does none of those things, man. None of them at all. It's just not a Honda, is it? What?